Alright, as we take a look here, we have the basic form. We want to do File, New Project. We make sure our Visual Basics, Windows Form Application. And then we want to go ahead and call it Sebastian, followed by Hello World. Now, in your case, it would be your last name followed by Hello World. But this is the basic Hello World program, and this gives you an idea of working with the interface itself. Most programs usually start off with Hello World. You'll notice that you have the form displayed. On the toolbox over to our left, what we're going to choose is we're going to choose the label tool. It's going to have the default label tool called Label 1. I'm then going to go over to the properties of the label, and I want to rename the text Hello World. You'll notice the text, or what is displayed, changes to Hello World. And then if I scroll down, well, in this case up, pardon me, I'm going to rename it with the naming convention LBL. Since it's a label, I want to call it LBL Hello World. This represents the data that it will contain. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the font, and I'm going to change the font size to be more pronounced. I'm going to change it to bold. I'm going to change it to 20-point font. You'll notice the text of the label itself now changes to represent that new field. I have two items. There's my form 1, two objects, my form 1, and then the label Hello World. I'm going to rename the form to FRM Hello World using the naming conventions FRM. When I rename it with a new name, what that does is that creates a name for it or a tag for it in code itself. The text is what displays on the form. A lot of individuals will name it the same, in this case FRM Hello World, but they do not, the actual text display does not need to follow the naming convention. So you don't need to call it FRM Hello World. You can just call it Hello World and call it good. So it's called Hello World. That's the actual text that's displayed. You'll notice up there in the form it says Hello World, and the name that that's being referenced to in code is called FRM Hello World. Now, after I have those two particular things set, I've added my label, I've changed my information. Now what I want to do here in a minute is I want to go ahead and I want to create our next object, which is a button that gives us some sort of interaction. I then use a button from my toolbox. I then change it. Notice it's with the default button 1. I want to change the name itself. This is a name it's referred to in code as BTN exit. In my case, it's BTN exit, giving an idea of what it does. I then want to actually change the text of itself to exit. Now, in my case, I made it lowercase. You can make it uppercase, whatever, but it's supposed to be representational, and this is what you have to remember. It has to be representational of the data it contains. So our button, now I'm going to double click on it. You'll notice it's in public class FRM Hello World. It's in button exit, which is a code associated with that particular button. I'm going to put the code end in it. That's going to end the actual program. So now what I've done, I've added a label. I've renamed the label with LBL as a naming convention, Hello World. I've added a button. I've renamed a button with a BTN naming convention, BTN exit. I could call it BTN stop. But the idea behind our naming conventions are it makes it easier to recognize when I see a list, and also when I see a list of things, I'm able to see what it does. So BTN exit obviously is button exit. BTN Hello World is obviously, or excuse me, LBL Hello World is our Hello World. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to run it. So there's my Hello World. I'm going to push exit. It ran. Now I'm back to my design. I can run it, I can push exit, it executes the end, and now I'm done with the program. There's my end code. That's all that particularly does.